Hi, my name is Chris Morgan, and today I'll be discussing why I believe that LeBron is the greatest basketball player of all time and why Jordan is not. Now, everyone debates on who the greatest player of all time. Is it LeBron James or is it Michael Jordan? But today I will be arguing on LeBron James' side and why I believe that he is the greatest basketball player of all time. I'll be talking about his career in the past and his career currently and why it makes him the GOAT, also known as the greatest player of all time the NBA has ever seen. For my credibility, I've done my research on sports websites such as ESPN, Fox Sports News. I've watched podcasts on ESPN, and I've watched YouTube debates overall through the last week and since I was a kid because I'm a huge basketball fiend when it comes to all these things. So I wanted to make sure that my facts were accurate for you guys and I wasn't speaking straight bias. Now, the key idea is that if you want to know more about LeBron James and why he's the GOAT, you have to take into consideration all of the trophies, all of the awards, all of the accolades, and how long their primes lasted and how they got their trophies. Now, the reasons why you have to listen is now you might think that, LeBron James isn't the greatest basketball player of all time and that Jordan is, or maybe even somebody else is. But I assure you that once you listen to this speech, you'll get a whole new perspective out of the debate entirely and you'll be more lenient on LeBron James. Now, to first start out, we're going to talk about LeBron James' stats. LeBron James, compared to Michael Jordan, is leading him in points, in rebounds, in blocks, in assists, and in steals. Those are the 5 main categories that a basketball player has to deal with. And LeBron is beating Jordan in all of those. And yes, I would consider it maybe if it was recently, but LeBron has been dominating Jordan for the past 3 years in all those stats. And you have to consider that those stats he got because, yes, I understand that the game has changed, but LeBron just beats him in all those single stats, which is what you need because LeBron can play all 5 positions while Jordan can only play 2. Next, second point why I believe LeBron James is better than Jordan is because trophies-wise, LeBron has more All-Star games. He has more All-Star MVPs. He's 4 and 6 in the finals, which means he's made it to the finals 10 times in his career. And on those finals, he's won those on 3 different teams and played completely different. Now, you may consider it, well, does that make him really the GOAT? Because, Jordan stayed on one team. Okay, well, Jordan stayed on one team because Jordan had Scottie Pippen and Dennis Rodman the whole time. So that was his all-star team. So you have to consider that LeBron, when he got drafted into the NBA, he was 18 years old and he got drafted to a weak Cavs team. He brought them to the finals in their second year and they still lost against a prime Spurs team. Well, so that's why he moved, is because he wanted to win trophies. He wanted to prove that he was the greatest. So he moved to South Beach, which is Miami, and he won 2 championships. And he would have stayed longer. They all would have. But unfortunately, Chris Bosh had to deal with health injuries. Dwayne Wade was getting old. So he went back to Akron, Ohio, to Cleveland, and won his sports title for the Cavs, which is their first one in 50 years. And on top of that, he has the greatest finals comeback, coming down 3-1 to a 73-9 Warriors team, which was favored to win so many more trophies, but LeBron stopped him in their prime. Now, the reason why LeBron left the Cavs to go to the Los Angeles Lakers was because Kyrie Irving was a toxic player. He wasn't a good teammate. He was criticizing everyone, and he wanted the ball more, and LeBron couldn't do that. Kevin Love was dealing with back injuries. He was dealing with torn ACLs and MCLs. So LeBron was like, why should I stay here? I'm still in my prime. Because LeBron's prime has lasted over 10 years, a whole decade. So he moved to Los Angeles Lakers, in which in 2 years, 2 different years, he won the Lakers a championship and all those teams. On the Cavs, firstly, he was a scorer. The Heat, he was a 3-point shooter. The Cavs, he was more of a defender. And now on the Lakers, he's a big pick-and-roll player. And finally, when it comes to trophies, LeBron has a better playoff record, and he's made it to the Eastern Conference Finals more times than Jordan ever did in his career. Now, as rebuttal, we're not even rebuttal, just another point on why LeBron is greater than Michael Jordan is because the game is completely different now. Back then, it was physical, and they were making only 2-pointers. The games would go maybe up to 90 points maximum. Now, teams these days hit 90 points by the third quarter, which they're maxing out at anywhere from 110 to 140 points per game, which is insane because, yes, it's less physical, but if it's less physical, that means it's harder. Because if it's harder, if you play tight defense on them, you're going to get a shot 3 on there, which is 3 points, not 2. And if you play tight end on the drive, grab a foul, and 1, 3 points. So the game is completely different. They score more. There's more 3-pointers. And back in the day in Jordan, only shooting guards and point guards, maybe small forwards would shoot. But now all 5 positions can shoot. Point guard, shooting guard, small forwards, power forwards, and centers all can shoot. So you have to take that in consideration, that it is it. Now for my rebuttal, yes, I understand that Jordan is 6-0 in the finals, and he's one of 3 players in NBA history to get an MVP and a Defensive Player of the Year. I understand that. But, guys, listen. Jordan has missed the finals more times than LeBron has. He's been there less times. And as I do recall, Jordan is the one who got swept by the Celtics 3 times, and he got swept by the Celtics twice when he was playing for them. So you guys have to debate, guys. Are you seriously going to take a guy who's 6-0 in the finals, or trade the guy who goes in there 10 times and won 4 to the 6 times? You tell me, guys. I'm just saying. Now, finally, for the conclusion, now that you have listened to both sides on why LeBron is the greatest basketball player of all time, you have so much more knowledge and credibility. So when this argument comes up at a party or a kickback or just normal day life, you have more argument to argue for both sides if you want. But now you have more to argue for LeBron. The key ideas from this paper was that LeBron has better stats, his trophies are harder to get and more memorable, and it's harder to win in present day. I mean, you have 7'5" shooters shooting 3-pointers. And the game has just evolved insanely. Now for your closure, yes, I still think that Jordan is one of the greatest basketball players of all time. And in some eyes, he is the best, but not in mine. I just think LeBron is. He's just a greater, more well-rounded player, and he's a better facilitator than Jordan was. And at the end, Jordan is more iconic, but LeBron's a better player. And would rather have someone who's iconic or the better player? You tell me, guys. Thank you for listening, and I hope this helped when your basketball arguments come with all your friends.